Today's episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Internet service providers in the US have been known to sell data to ad companies. In the UK and Australia, internet service providers are required to keep logs of the websites you visit. Certain countries even restrict and censor certain websites and content. And as all of you know, security and privacy are paramount when it comes to cryptocurrency. ExpressVPN is the industry standard that puts a stop to all of it while ensuring the security and privacy of not only your browsing history, but your wallet connections. Utilizing data encryption and IP masking, ExpressVPN gives users peace of mind no matter what part of the world you're in. Our listeners can go to expressvpn.com/Louverture, LOUVERTURE. That's expressvpn.com/Louverture to see how you can receive 3 months free of the best VPN subscription service available.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of CryptoCast. I'm your host today, MrMohawk. Joining me is one of my favorite contributors in the Cosmos space, CosmosHoss. Welcome to the pod, buddy. Appreciate you taking the time today.
Glad to be here. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. I know that we spoke a little bit in the DMs about your role in the Cosmos space. Before we get into the tech and some other things regarding what the Cosmos has to offer, I'm interested to hear about your journey in crypto, how you got started, and what led you to the Cosmos overall.
That's a good question. So basically, for the most part, I feel like I started off typically how everyone else does. If you're starting to get into crypto, you're like, I'm going to go on YouTube and see what's going on.
Right.
And the only thing you're going to find on YouTube is you're going to find Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, for the most part, pretty much those three. So, I started off with those three. And this was right around, I've known what crypto was and all that, but really I didn't get involved until essentially COVID happened. So like once that happened, I'm like, yeah, I'm a money guy. So I'm like, I need to get some exposure to some of their other assets. Like I've always invested in technology and I'm like, let's go for it. So, I had those. And when COVID happened, I got to work from home, so I had all this additional time to do research. And
Right.
when I really started going down the rabbit hole of like technology, I started for the first time. I was doing a lot of research, and I was following this guy. His name's GDLT. He was just like a small influencer that has a YouTube show and not many followers, but really cool content. Like he would just present the content on show. And I asked him, I was like, hey, this is in end of June, beginning of July. I was like, hey, man, like outside the 200, like what tokens really has your attention? And he said, Osmosis. And I was like, Osmosis? I was like, what is that? He's like, it's an AMA DEX. It's like Uniswap, but it's going to be better. It's bigger. It's going to be for the Cosmos ecosystem. So after the show, I wrote it down. I went and did some research. I'm like, all right, cool. So I got on there, I started using it. I was like, man, what have I been doing with my life? This is so smooth. This is how it should be. And then as an investor, I'm like, okay, so who's the founder? I said, Sonny. And I'm like, all right, let's see what he's about. I seen he started with Ethereum, then he worked on Tendermint. And I started watching some of his podcasts,
Right.
like just basically everything. So Osmosis essentially led me to Cosmos. I wasn't a Cosmos OG. But I spent like thousands of hours. I'm like, man, this technology is amazing. I love what it can do. And as I kept using it and just finding out more, I'm like, yeah, this is the train for me. So essentially, I took all my focus and energy from like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like XRP, Cardano, and just put it all into Cosmos. And Osmosis launched on June 19th, and I wanted to find out as much as I could. So for the first time in my life, I started up a Telegram. I never had a Twitter before, so I did both of those, and I just started helping out, like just because I liked helping people out.
Right.
I started helping out on Telegram, and I put so much hours in, and they were like, "Hey, would you like to help out?" And then I started helping out officially, like actually getting technically paid in Osmo tokens in November.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so just for like putting hard work in. I technically got like a crypto job for the first time. And so that kind of led me to Cosmos. if that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually funny how many people I hear that kind of have a similar, not a similar story, but kind of how they got involved in their first quote unquote job with crypto stuff, right? It's offering your time and doing the research behind the scenes, familiarizing yourself, and just being able to help people in whether it's a Discord or Telegram or writing Twitter threads just regarding one topic. Eventually someone reaches out and says, hey, I like what you do. Is there a way that we can get you involved in our ecosystem? It's actually kind of how I got involved with LVT. So I really like that you were able to kind of organically grow with their ecosystem is how I'll put that. And doing the research that you did, what was one thing with the Cosmos that stood out as far as the tech that maybe you compared to other things that you were hearing about prior that really stood out to you?
So to me, it just makes the most sense. So like what I mean by that in layman terms is Cosmos is an open source, permissionless, basically technology that think of it as like a universal language.
Right.
So essentially, whenever you're on these other blockchains that aren't IBC enabled, you're kind of stranded. It's like your own planet or your own island, and there's no way to really communicate outside of that unless you used like a makeshift bridge, so to speak.
Right.
And Cosmos isn't like that. It scales horizontally, so it can scale infinitely, and you could spin up your own chain or your own blockchain, and everything's connected. It's like basically, to me, it's the new internet. It's how all blockchains will communicate with one another. So I really fell in love with that part of it, and with Cosmos, it's fast, it's cheap, and each chain has its own uniqueness and can offer something to the table. And it's really cool is it really is like a huge we call it the IBC gang. It's like a really big ecosystem that's growing faster than any other. And it's just such good technologies. And what another thing that I really like about it is it's to me it's almost for like the average Joe. What I mean by that is a lot of these chains, and I'm not saying it's the wrong approach, but they have a lot of big money, a lot of venture capitalist money. So they have a lot of control. And with IBC, a lot of it is the community is like the VCs. Like they either do airdrops or they do LBPs, which is like a liquidity bootstrap pool on like Osmosis. So they find like their price point from the community, and it's really engaging that. And each one of these chains has like their own utility or like what they're trying to go for, and each chain almost like it's like we're all in it together. If one makes it, we're all going to make it. We want like to bring one another up. So it's different from other chains, so to speak.
Right. It's funny that you bring up the community aspect. One thing that I've noticed, especially with Terra, they just have such a tight-knit community, and I feel like a lot of that has rolled over, or at least it feels like to me, when I'm reading up or I'm in Discords or Telegram or even the Twitter Spaces. You have this sense of community that I really don't feel that. I just don't get the same vibe that I do on other blockchains. People are trying to elevate. They're trying to share knowledge and try to elevate the community in a way that I don't see on other blockchains. So regarding your Twitter Spaces, that's been a very big, a great utility tool for me to learn more. But you just don't see a lot of that. Like we deal a lot on AVAX. I've dealt with Polygon in the past, and I just feel like there's not that same sense of community. So, whatever you guys are doing in that regard, it's definitely working. What would be, in that same breath, what are some things that you've seen successes with regarding community building besides the Twitter Spaces that you do? Is
Well, I mean, I would like to actually kind of add to that if you don't mind.
yeah, absolutely.
So I don't remember what day it was. I know it was a Friday night, and it was probably maybe 2 months ago. And a couple of guys, this is how we kind of started up Cosmo or Twitter Space or Cosmos Spaces. Was there's a few guys that were just on, and I just randomly clicked. I was just kind of drinking, hanging out at my house on a Friday night.
Yep.
And I clicked, and I just wanted to listen in. And some of the guys were like saying some stuff, and good stuff. And you could tell a lot of them were newer. And I've put so much time and effort in, and I always actually was going to remain silent. Even when I was working with Osmosis, I was, you could do Telegram technically without chatting in person, like live, like how you and I are speaking.
Right.
But so, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna chime in because they were asking some questions about Osmosis, and then I started answering some questions and helping out some people. And then the conversation was really cool. Like it was like a bunch of guys that I could tell, like if I've seen them in real life, I would kick it with. So I'm like, we're just bullshitting for a good amount of time. And lo and behold, on that Friday, no, I'm not kidding you either. It was maybe it started off with just like 4 or 5 of us talking.
Yeah.
It went to like 250, 300
wow.
people. And it had everyone. When I say everyone, I mean everyone that has like real skin in the game. From like Sonny, I think like Sisla is the starter. He's the founder of like OmniFlix. We had Greg. He was the founder of Regen. Like all these people, even like CryptoCito stopped by. And he's just an influencer. But it was really cool. Like everyone just took time to just bring value and education. And at that moment in time, to myself, I said, man, I think I really picked the right train, because what other time in a community where you can technically, in real life in general, where you can get like CEOs on a conversation.
Right.
We didn't even at anybody. We're like, hey, we didn't even send invites. It was just like this little thing that started that became real big. And then I said, you know what, I'll host a show on Sunday. And then I started hosting my shows on Sunday at noon Eastern. And it just kind of became something. And the only reason I wanted to get involved with speaking is I put so much time in and learning this technology and like what it does. It takes a lot of time and effort. So I said, you know what, man, I really want to help the person out that works like a 9-to-5 job. It may only have, an hour or two here or there to maybe get into crypto, and
Right.
they don't want to spend all this time. So like what I try to do, and my mission is basically to help out as many people as I humanly possibly could, and as fast as I can and efficiently as I can possibly do. Because my show, a lot of times I have developers on, and they speak in their terminologies and their language basically as if everyone in the world understands all this tech talk. So I pretty much understand it, but what I do is I just like what do you want to call it? I translate it into layman terms.
Right.
So just like the average Joe can understand, and that's kind of how like the whole Cosmos Spaces and me getting involved. I actually didn't even start producing stuff on Twitter or anything till about then. So it's been about like 2.5, 3 months where it's crazy. Like the community has embraced me, and it's been awesome. And like I get so many DMs, and I all day long I'm just answering questions. And I tell everyone, I'm like, my DMs are open. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. No question's stupid. The only question that's dumb is the one you don't ask. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. And like you were saying about community, I didn't get this vibe until I got into Cosmos. And I'm not saying like I'm an IBC maxi, because I kind of am, but the embracefulness and the willingness and the helpfulness is like, it's been beyond my wildest imaginations with people. And I just try to pass it along,
Right. And honestly, I guess that I'm coming from a point of privilege, so to speak, because I do utilize your Twitter Spaces, and I try to learn more, and a lot of it is through you. So again, thank you for everything that you do in that aspect with these Twitter Spaces, because one, it definitely is an awesome tool for anyone that just wants to maybe dip their toe in the water, learn a little bit when they can. They can stop by, and it's not going to be some only tech talk. Like you said, you have developers that are speaking in a language that is only familiar with other developers, right? Your spaces offer a tool where people that want to get involved in the space but don't necessarily know how, they have something that they're going to be able to understand and they can grow from when they join your Twitter spaces. So I really, really like the way that you run your source of content through those. As far as the community, I mean, we just don't see a lot of what you're doing on other blockchains. I think if more people would have this approach, that they would take the time out to kind of educate the community on whatever chain that is, right? If there was more education, I think we would see a little bit more of this community mentality of investors that are intelligent enough to weather the storm, so to speak. At least on Avalanche right now, we're seeing a lot, especially with all these node projects. We're seeing people that are investing into protocols kind of blindly, and they're expecting things that are just not able to happen, really. We have a lot of spillover where people are expecting 50x on a token right away, and when things aren't immediately in the green, then we see a lot of a pretty negative sentiment that follows that. You don't really see that in the Cosmos, or at least what I've seen in the Discords and the Twitter spaces that I've joined. There's this idea of patience, and instead of people going in and bitching about what a token price is right now, they're looking to learn more about what this could potentially grow into. And I think with the way that the Cosmos are set up, it's really all about growth, right? You can have, with this technology that interacts, from blockchain to different blockchain, that really spurs growth, in my opinion. And if you would disagree with that, please, stop me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I think potentially me just taking a gander is a lot of these other chains that aren't IBC enabled, you're like the only one there. So like Cosmos preaches interoperability, and that's what the whole Web3 is supposed to be about, whether you're in Cosmos or not. And I think they've basically solved the issue. And can it improve? Yes. Will it improve? I firmly believe it. And I think a lot of people don't find Cosmos unless you really like tech and you really do your homework. So, I'm trying to just basically mitigate that process. And I don't want to say shill, but just speak from my experiences and from just a random guy that just likes technology, and say, look, man, if you put your time in, not only can you find a good technology, but if you really want to get work in crypto, you possibly can. You just have to have some sort of skill. You need to be trustworthy, and you need to work hard. And people get seen, and it shows, because Cosmos is growing so fast. And I used to write a lot more mediums, but when I used to write mediums, I think it was back in November,
Okay.
I predicted 150 different blockchains will connect by the end of 2022. I don't know if that's going to stand true, but it's growing fast. And it's just, everything's connected. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. And for me, I preach this all the time. I just don't see the reason why. I try to find reasons why you wouldn't connect to IBC, and I just can't find any. And I've tried, I try, and I try, and I try. And the future isn't just one chain rules the world, like how Ethereum is kind of set up right now. That's not sustainable. And Cosmos, like what's great about Cosmos is everyone that came over and built Cosmos and Tendermint is basically from Ethereum. They've seen the issues that Ethereum had. They've seen the struggles. They've seen basically what needed to improve, and they just did it on their own.
Absolutely.
And it's really empowering, like just this from that point of view, because if you do look at all the major founders and all the big developers in Cosmos, whatever ecosystem that they have, they all started basically on Ethereum, for the most part, all of them. So like they seen what the limitations were, and they were like, we're just going to build it better. And that's what they did.
So in this in this pocket that we're in, discussing all these different blockchains, every single blockchain in Cosmos, it sounds like one has, I guess, its own like uniqueness or its own showcase, or like the one thing that it does better than some of the other ones. What are some different chains that do one thing maybe better than the other? Like I know there's Secret and what they're doing for more privacy on blockchain. You have Juno. That's, just a few off the top of my head. But what are some standout properties of each blockchain that's in the Cosmos right now?
Okay, so there's quite a few. So I look at like Osmosis as the financial hub of IBC.
Right.
Where one day there's going to be just billions of dollars going through and out, in and out. It's just going to be like essentially what it's going to be. It's going to compete against centralized exchanges, but it's going to be a decentralized DEX. Terra is just like the future of money. It's just so sound. Cosmos is going to be the security hub. Like it's going to like how cool like the Atom Hub is you're going to be able to. So everything's connected. All the data is going back and forth. And what's so fascinating about IBC is that there's just communications for everything. So like data is going back and forth and packets of information is nonstop, but every single chain knows what the other chain's assets have at all times. So you're going to be able to do like one-click transactions from this chain to that chain. And technically, just like when you go on like www.whatever.com and whatever website, you don't know what's going on. You just know when you hit enter, the website comes up.
Right,
and that's kind
right.
And that's kind of what IBC is going to do. And like a HOSS is like a peer-to-peer cloud computing technology, which is like going to be gigantic. And what it really is it's a decentralized, let's say AWS cloud service. It's amazing. And actually, a lot of these blockchains run off of a HOSS, like Osmosis. The way that technology is, it couldn't run on AWS because you like when it's just always changing so much. If something happens or an upgrade or an update needs to be done, it would say like Sonny would have to go to AWS and say, hey, I need to upgrade and I need to do this and you need the permission. Like that can't happen. So like a cost is decentralized. They can get right in. Secret is like, if people know what Monero is, it's basically a privacy coin. People know what Ethereum is. It's a smart contract platform. If people know what Atom is, it's like all those put together. It's like it's a privacy by default smart contract platform, which is like really cool because if you're like, hey man, can you send me some UST right now or whatever, I could send it to you and wrap it in secret and it won't be on the blockchain for you to know or the whole world to know like, hey, this guy just sent him this. So, I always use the metaphor if I seen someone I haven't seen in 15 years and we're at a ball game and I'm like, yeah, I got you, man. I'll buy whatever, the beers or whatnot.
Yeah.
And like no one will know because I could use Secret's technology to wrap it. Now, what's cool about it is it's still auditable. So you could still produce your records because you get a private key for all the different tokens. So like you can basically wrap, it's really sweet. Like you could wrap like every token. And also they have bridges to others. Like they have ETH already. They have Monero. They have Bitcoin. They have all this on Secret. So like it's really cool. And that's just one feature of it. Like another feature that no one talks about is like voting. So like all these proof of stake chains have governance, but what's so toxic about it is it's all public. So like if a vote is for like 5 days and it's at whatever percent, people will go out there and they're pitchforking, hey, this validator voted this way, you should undelegate because that's not sustainable. Just like if you and I go vote for a presidential candidate or like a local municipality, like you don't know who I voted for unless I share it. And it's kind of like what Secret is. It's like you could share what you did, but you don't have to, which is really cool. And and I think the financial institutions will have to leverage this technology because if you're a hedge fund, think about it. If you're a hedge fund and you want to make all these moves and all these investments, well, you don't want someone just to be like, hey, let's just copy and paste all what they're doing, like your competitors. So like you could use Secret's technology and it goes for, there's so many other use cases for that. E-money is kind of like a Luna slash it's a euro. So they actually have full compliance, regulatory compliance in like Switzerland and Europe, and no one talks about them. And they have an euro, which is pegged to the the euro. And actually the difference is like with Luna and UST is that's an algorithmic stable coin. So the more UST gets in demand, the more Luna gets burned. But like what NGM does, that's their token, it's e-money, is they actually have these reserves in the banks for e-euro. So it's a little bit different. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to bridge over traditional finance into crypto. So they're making it real friendly for them. And I think it's going to be pretty big, and no one talks about it. The market cap's like really low. And I mean, I basically have a position in pretty much all these tokens. And there's 43 blockchains that are connected to
Oh,
IBC. So
wow.
it's really, really big. I could be here for like 5 hours just telling you about
Right,
each chain.
right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and so instead of telling us about all of them, maybe some that stand out more so than the others. I know that you touched on Osmo, that's like the main one, and Secret, what they do with the wrapping. Are there any other ones that for me or someone that's just getting or trying to get involved with the Cosmos, what would be the couple to pay attention to, and maybe why?
Okay, so the one that it's actually going to be launching tomorrow that I'm very interested in is Evmos, which is an EVM chain. So essentially, what they're doing is a lot of people build on Solidity, which is what EVM is. I'm not a big EVM fan, however, I do realize that there's just a lot of builders, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of resources over on Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just basically, hey, you can come over to Cosmos instantly. You could still keep your same code and everything. And we're IBC enabled. So now you have access to all these chains instantaneously. You don't have to worry about essentially getting mugged by Ethereum gas. And
Right.
like so that's going to be big in my opinion. So another one that I like that I think is going to be pretty big is it's just started not too long ago. They actually haven't done mainnet yet, but it's called Comdex, which is a synthetic derivative like market for commodities. So like silver, oil, wheat, and all that. So instead of like selling your assets, you're going to be able to get exposure to commodities. And that actually there was a case study. I don't know how much it was, but they could save like every investor that's invested in commodities like a ton of money. So even if they take a slither of the derivative market, which is trillions and trillions of dollars, they only have to take like a microscopic little
Right.
bite of it, and they could be very successful. That's that one. I mean, I don't know too much about Kava. Kava is like a borrowing lending platform, but I mean, they have a lot of partnerships with a lot of people. I've used their services; it's really good. It's just a typical borrow and lend platform. It offers like really low, you can use collateral and stuff like that.
Right.
There's Stargaze, which is like a really cool NFT blockchain. And what's cool about IBC is that you're getting these chains and they're their own chains. It's not just like an L2 that's built on top of a chain, like they're their own. So it's like what's cool about having your own blockchain is that you can have your own rules, you can have your own governance, and your own thing, so to speak. So
Right.
those are kind of like my main ones. But the one that I'm really, and I guess it comes off a little bit biased because Osmosis kind of technically changed my life. So I'm really biased towards them, but they have a lot going on for them. Pretty soon there's going to be smart contracts. You're going to be able to borrow and lend. You're going to be able to do leverage trading. You're going to be able to use your LP positions to take collateral. Like there's going to be a lot of moving parts. So that to me is that's a big player. Kronos, no one really talks about that, but I mean, everyone knows what crypto.com is. That's built on
Yeah. Yeah.
IPC. Juno has a lot of potential right now. I'm not going to lie. I've been kind of staying away from it for the fact that I didn't really necessarily agree with some of the propositions that they did. But what's cool about Juno is it's a smart contract blockchain that's permissionless. So you can just plug and play and you don't need anyone's permission if you want to build. So I think that could be pretty big. And the one that no one talks about, I want to say no one, but is Cosmos, is Atom, which is the OG of the whole entire
Right.
galaxy. They have a lot going on for them. They take the slow approach, but like what they have coming on is just blows my mind with the possibilities and the endless things that they could do. Like I was saying before, since all these chains are communicating instantaneously, nonstop, that there's going to be so many things that you're going to be able to do with their technology and with the security and it's the, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the best code out. Like it's just the best code. Like like I said, it makes no sense for all these chains, and I know they're all talking about it. You were talking about AVAX and like Cadena. I know there's people working on Solana to get them IBC enabled. It just doesn't make any sense because it's not taking away from you. It's actually improving what you have.
Right.
It's improving your security, and it's instantaneous network effect. Like it's the possibilities are endless, you know. So
Well, I feel like I mean, the whole concept behind it is brilliant because anyone that's a maxi on whatever network, if they can still interact with other blockchains, I mean, there's just no downfall. You can still have your holdings in one place, but still be able to interact with, one or two things that you want to on another chain. So I think the idea behind all of this is just brilliant. One that you touched on, is it Stargaze or Stargate? Stargaze. That was, and it's the Kepler wallet, if I remember correctly, or Klepper or Kepler.
it's Kepler.
Okay,
Yes.
they were just added their NFT section to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I was looking through that, and I mean, it's pretty interesting to see what growth and what additions are being made to this entire ecosystem of tech that is being built. I know that the Kepler wallet is the one that I use, and that's more geared towards mobile. The other wallet is Cosmos Station.
That's correct.
And that's your more desktop friendly one, if I'm not, or is it reversed?
I mean, no, you're right about that. I mean, but personally, I use Kepler for desktop as well.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. It's only a team of four, so that they definitely get a little overwhelmed because how fast this is all growing. To be honest with you, before I spoke with you, I spoke with the founder of Pylons, and Pylons is a really fascinating L1 that's going to be coming out on Cosmos as well. And what that is, it's like an app store for NFTs and games and all kind of cool things. And basically,
very cool.
It's real cool. Like you're going to be able to just you can technically you'll be able to buy stuff with any crypto that's enabled on IBC, and also if you're just someone that doesn't really in crypto, you could just use your credit card, your debit card, and buy like stuff basically on Cosmos. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like a game. It's going to basically be like a store. And that's another thing I wanted to mention. What's so cool about IBC as well is Osmosis. They don't even have fees yet, but eventually they will. And you're going to be able to use any IBC enabled token for any fee that you want. And that's going to go for like pretty much all of it, all these blockchains. Like it's just going to know like, okay, Cosmos, you need gas and you have Juno or you have Luna or you have UST. You're going to be able to use that instantly, and it's just going to be so, like I like to say, it's going to be a great customer experience. It already is. It's going to improve. Like, does it need to improve? Yeah, but I tell everyone it's just like it's so revolutionary. It's so brand new. And you were saying earlier about people not really worried about prices as much. It's because a lot of these people that are in Cosmos are just basically like just tech nerds, and they understand this is like the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I should preface this by saying I don't think that this is going to fail, but say for some unforeseen reason that this is not able to move forward. The imprint that this idea and this interaction that's been implemented so far. I mean, if people don't adopt this in some way or say that this does completely fold, right, there's going to be another iteration of it. This idea of, cross interaction is just so big. It's kind of honestly a little surprising that no one has thought of it until like recently, right? So seeing this unfold, I mean, it's definitely, from the tech perspective, this is definitely a benefit to the space overall. The interaction of all these blockchains, like you said earlier, is for someone not to get involved. It's kind of stupid, right? I mean,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
we
Yeah.
see. I mean, how many weeks ago was that $630 million hack with the bridge? I forget the details of it. I'm sure you heard about it.
Yeah, exactly. And what like if you want to use that as a reference,
Yeah.
if one of these chains needs like worked on, you can halt that chain or like, do an update on that chain and everything else still goes. It's not like the whole world just like shuts off. Like Juno had an issue where they were working on the smart contracts and it was so cool because you could still get Juno and you could still move Juno around. You just couldn't move it from the Juno chain itself.
Right.
So it was like really cool that you could see that. Like, okay, well, Juno's down, but you could still buy the Juno that's on like Osmosis or whatever, or you could trade your Juno that's already on Osmosis. So that was just like one little thing. And yeah, the technology, it's you can't get in and just disrupt. You can't ruin anything. It's just the technology is just unreal because when you are sending over these we'll say packets of information,
Hmm.
you don't have prefixes in front of it. So like if you had Luna and you're sending Luna over to Osmo, it's just Luna. It's not L Luna, or
Right.
I'm sending Osmo over to like Terra's ecosystem. It's not O Osmo, it's just Osmo. Like it's just way better that way. It's easier. I always try to think about it from like our parents or like our grandparents' generation. They barely know how to use the computer at all. Like they would be so thrown off if they went
Yeah.
on Solana and seen like MSOL, BSOL, PSOL. Like they don't know what's going on. So you got to make it as user friendly as possible, and that's a big thing. Even the little prefixes in front of the words. It's like that's just a one
Yeah,
thing.
definitely. Like being able to trade essentially like the native token on other chains, right? I mean, that's essentially what it is. And you don't have, like you said, this prefix where you have to send that somewhere to get it into the native token of Luna or Osmo. It just is that, living piece of information instead of having, to wrap or unwrap or send it directly to another piece of tech that you have to transform it into another piece of code. It's all very interesting that the stuff that you guys have going on. I'm definitely a space that I'm going to be paying attention to more, learning more about. As far as someone that's new that does want to learn more about everything that the Cosmos has to offer. Your Twitter spaces that we were talking about before have been a huge help for me. Is there anything else that you would suggest besides maybe your Twitter spaces that's a good source of information regarding Cosmos right now?
Yeah, so some of my partners at Cosmos Spaces, they on Wednesday nights they do a really just simplistic blockchain chatter, and a lot of it's just like rudimentary help from like getting started. Sunday nights, a lot of times, Cosmos Spaces, we do a Twitter space where it will also you can listen to Twitter Space, and then if you want to join our Discord, we do like live streams where we'll just show you, hey, this is how you can use the Kepler. Like we'll just load it up with like an Osmo or whatever. This is how you can swap on Osmosis. This is how you can do this and that. And also we do giveaways for people. Like, hey, you're new to the ecosystem. You can here's an Osmo. Like this is what you can do with
Right,
it.
right, right.
So we kind of show stuff like that. And a really good resource too is the Osmosis Telegram chat is 24/7 support around the clock. There's multiple administrators in there at once, and we have all these bots too. So like if you're like, hey, can I get Terra's contact info, like Terra's ecosystem? We just
Hmm.
like hashtag Terra, and it'll give you all those sources and directly. And what's cool too about Osmosis is we're gonna have a landing page soon that's also gonna have live customer support directly on the interface. So if you were
Oh,
trying to
that's
do
very
something,
cool.
yeah, it's so cool. It's like it's something that's never been done before, first of all, in a decentralized DEX, where you're going to be able to get legit. So if you haven't used it before and you have questions, you don't even have to worry about, hey, I need to go on Telegram and then have to worry about like potentially scammers trying to DM you and bother you and all
Right.
this other stuff. You'll be able to just go right on the source and say, hey, like how do I swap this or how do I send my Atom over to from Coinbase or whatever and get it on Osmosis and stuff. We'll be able to answer all that, but and my DMs are always open, and I really mean that. So when people message me, I don't care, man. Like I get back to people really fast, especially on Telegram. I get really back to people really fast, and I just try to help as many people out as possible.
Yeah, definitely, man. I like I said before when we started off. I mean, the way that you guys are building a community and the assets that you're giving to people to learn more about it the right way, it's really fascinating to see everything that you guys are doing in that regard. As far as
Yeah, and then as I say to that too, eventually we're going to have our own website for Cosmos Spaces, and we're going to have like everything on there. So you're going to be able to just go on, and there's just going to be documents everywhere. So if you want to find out anything about anything, it's all going to be at one source. That's our goal. It's just a lot of work, and we need people to help us build out the website. But yeah, we're really working on that because, yeah, I mean, education's it's the pillar of the future. So it's
right.
like we're just trying to help, That's all we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely light years ahead of what any other blockchain is doing, in regards to education. So definitely kudos to you guys in that regard. I'll make sure that we link all of your Twitter and your Discord and your Telegram down in the description of the YouTube video, so people can get the right information from the right sources. Because like you said, there's, instead of someone that's a little bit low on time that has to go to this YouTube video and then go to this website and then another thing that they have to go running around and searching for this information, the fact that in your ecosystem, they're going to potentially be able to go to a one-stop shop. They're going to be able to ask someone live and get an answer just from doing that. I think that's brilliant as far as getting people educated the right way. And that is a little bit in the time sensitive fashion, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's all really great stuff that you guys are building. Moving on to my last point here, is there anything that's coming up in the Cosmos that you wanted to touch on that we can look forward to in the next month or so that you're excited about, or something that in the roadmap that we should be on the lookout for?
So we're going to be doing some shows. So May 17th and 18th is a permissionless event that's down in West Palm Beach, Florida. But it's mainly like other ecosystems like Ethereum and all that. But like Do Kwon's going to be there, and Sunny and Osmosis and Terra. So and I think Kava's going to be there too. So we'll have a little bit of exposure to that. But
that's a really heavy hitting group right there.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a booth that's going to be like right dead smack in the middle of all of it. So hopefully that'll bring over some people that have never used Cosmos before. And then also the really cool event that's coming up in Austin is June 7th and 8th. It's Tuesday and Wednesday in Austin. It's the Central Con Consensus. And that's mainly all going to be just Cosmos ecosystems, like all these different blockchains that I touched on and some that I haven't. And so that'll be really cool because it'll be a good spot. And a lot of these guys get together and a lot of stuff gets built. There might be like a hackathon and guys get together and they just build cool ass technology. And then another thing that's coming up at the very end of September is Cosmoverse, which is going to be in Medellin, Colombia. And a lot of times, like I said, these events can produce a lot. Like they usually have like hackathons, and some people out there right now are probably building something so cool that no one even knows about, and it's going to happen. And it's going to happen on Cosmos, man. Because like I said, because what's cool about it is it's open source technology. If you're building, and especially if you're a smaller team, it just makes no sense not to build on Cosmos because you have all this network effect instantly, and also the coding is already there. You can, and what's cool about too, I didn't mention this, is you can make modifications to the code basically. So there's so many things that you can do. You could technically you can have a chain and not even you can have a chain and also not even enable IBC transactions. So it's like a two-part. You get your chain first, and it's not like the day one you automatically can just start sending transfer the information to all these different chains. You have to vote on governance, and everyone does, and then they get the tokens over, because there's like, you have to test it out, make sure everything's good with this new chain, and then boom, there you go. You have access to 40 plus different other chains and stuff like that
Right.
instantly.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of all the tech that you guys have going on in the Cosmos space. Big fan of the content that you're putting out. I've been able to learn so much in a short period of time just based on the stuff that you do. So thank you for that. I think that's all the questions I have for you today, man. Is there anything else that you want to plug or that you want to share?
I just appreciate you having me on, and this is awesome.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you taking the time. I'll make sure that we have links to all of your stuff. CosmosHoss on Twitter, Cosmos Spaces on Twitter. I'll put the Discord and all the links in there, and we can talk about anything else that you want in the YouTube description. But again, man, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right, right on.